Hello, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Wow, this episode. I cry. There's some silent moments filled with music. This is probably best engaged with on video so you can watch it all come to life. But if you're listening in, it's still incredibly powerful. I'm adding my little postscript in the front of the episode just to share. If you look at the video again, I have a picture of this creation hanging on my wall in my office. I look at it every day. It still speaks to me powerfully. I made a bunch of copies of it. I'm flying on a solo flight tomorrow, my first time traveling alone since I was 15 years old, before bank robberies and panic attacks. So I'm putting all of my healing work that I talk about on the show. I'm going to put it all to work. And I'm feeling excited and scared and super empowered all in one big ball. So this word I'm bringing with me, a couple of copies along with some gel pens, and I'm going to color, and I'm going to find that strength within the weakness, and you will understand when you tune in. So, Kathy, just letting you know that this creation of yours is going with me on this journey, and it's a big step on my healing journey, and being able to say to folks that you can do this. You can do this. All right. Phenomenal episode. And I open my heart and soul to you and share my vulnerability right on air. Okay. Take care. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast for this very, very, very special edition. And I have been so excited all day since my conversation yesterday with Kathy Curtis, who is here with me. And it's a mixture of excitement, and then I've bawled and tears of just, I don't even know how to explain it. I guess, looking forward to allowing myself to be vulnerable in this moment on what we are about to do. So, Kathy has been on the show with us before, and I am so glad to welcome her back. So, welcome, Kathy.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and you're safe with me. So anything that happens, it's all going to be comfortable and feel safe. But I totally get where you're coming from.
Oh, well, thank you. So tell people really quick before we dive into what we're about to do, what you do and who you are in the world.
Okay, yeah. Well, I am a healing artist. I have been for about 30 years. I, I've been one my whole life, frankly, for myself. I think I wrote and I drew and I did a lot of creative things in my early life to manage my emotions and to just have an outlet for all the things that I felt that I needed to have an outlet for, and I didn't have a family where we could really talk about things, and they were the source of my problems. And so it was just I knew from a young age that what I did on the paper was saving my life. It was just keeping me from the darkness, and it was keeping me from um, giving up hope. I mean, it was just a sort of magical medicine that I created for myself. And so then I pursued a fine art degree in college, and I went a corporate route with my career because I wanted to make a living. But I also really felt drawn to helping other people incorporate creativity and having outlets in their lives no matter what they were going through. And I've worked with every imaginable audience. I'm talking emotional problems, social issues, illnesses, dying people. I mean, and there's no audience that doesn't respond well to being prompted to help get out of themselves what it is that they're going through, and doing it in a creative way, in a spontaneous way. They're awakened to the holistic nature. I mean, if you're going through cancer, you're not, there's some emotional thing going on in you about that, whether it's a reaction to it or whether it was in there just churning around, turning itself into illness, at some point. Our body, mind, spirit is not separate. And so I do this word program, which is what we're going to do tonight. And it happened just spontaneously. I was working in a hospital, going room to room, encountering patients who had no idea I was coming in the door. And my job was to somehow use the words to help them disconnect from the pain or the fear or whatever it is that they may have been feeling before I walked into the room. And it took a while to figure out how to incorporate that into a program that patients really liked. And I finally found it. And it was a simple idea of what is the number one word in the forefront of your mind right now? I am a calligrapher. I love lettering. I'm going to make that word into a piece of beauty for you, and then I'm going to leave that behind for you. And so the more truthful people could be with me about what they were feeling or what was bothering them or what they were longing for or whatever that might be, the more power it had. And what would happen is as I sat drawing that word, and their eyes were just glued to the paper, and it's like this bubble of protection kind of formed around the two of us, and they would talk to me about whatever. I mean, or not. Maybe they would just go silent. I mean, it was different for every patient. But after 1,500 of these, I'm here to tell you that there is so much power in a word, and that I've come to believe that it can be a piece of the medicine that people need to move out of wherever they're just really stuck. And so that's why I reached out to you, because I wanted to see if what I do, and this is just one of many of the programs that I offer, but it's it's simple and anyone can participate in it. And I think that the people that are watching, it will just give them an idea how our creativity and our openness and our expressive abilities really do generate this healing energy. So,
Yes, I love it. Well, and I just have to add in a little plug that I am still in the midst of one of your programs, which is your haiku program. And oh my gosh, I just find it out. I'll send my poems to my two oldest boys and get feedback from them because it's very raw. It's very vulnerable. My oldest is well, they're both in school, but the oldest is taking a creative writing course. And so he's been sending me or reading me a lot of his work. And he's doing some poetry as well. And so it's just been wonderful to share that with the older kids. As we both are, John and I are both right now in these creative writing courses, and me with you. Just that outlet. Oh, wow. I mean, I sent you some of my stuff, and it's just pretty raw and just like blah kind of stuff, right?
but don't you find, I mean, if we can name it, we're halfway there. And I think we've all been brought up to just sort of hover above whatever's going on, and it's all blurry and muddy and hard to talk about. If you can write a little haiku and name something that is going on for you, it's almost like you're liberated from it. And the students in that program, oh my gosh, the things they write and tell me about what they got from it is just profound. And that's why I offered it, because I wrote a haiku every day of my life for 12 or 13 years. And it changed me. It changed me. But it changed my life, I think, too, in a very nice way. So
Yes.
this is my
Right.
life.
I love it. Well, and there's something popped in my head and then it popped back out. I forget what I was going to say, but no, I feel very blessed to have that as a resource. I've always been, if you could see the corner of my desk right now, it's, about this tall of a stack. Well, you can't see how tall I'm doing. Big old stack of journals. And so writing has always been such a great outlet for me to, yeah, get that out of me. Oh, now I remember what I was going to tell you was another word that popped up was dissociation, because as you just said, we hover above it, looking down at that muck. Well, that's how I survived my trauma of my childhood and early adult years, was dissociating and really being on that outside, like I was watching a movie and watching this happen to somebody else. And so,
It helps you, and I really get that it can help you,
yeah, for
definitely.
sure. So being able to, after doing all the therapy work that I did, especially in EMDR therapy, was to be able to be in my body and comfortable with all those scary sensations that were arising when we would revisit traumas and not dissociate. But it is fascinating because going through all of this, I'm trying to stay very grounded, very in the moment. But what you just said resonated, because it is hard to talk about the impact that this illness has had on me holistically. And I'm trying to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk and do all these things that I talk about on the show and that I write about, and, that I believe in, honestly. I believe in all of this. And so I'm the mindfulness and the meditation and the holistic approaches to eating and prayer and all, I mean, just the spiritual part of it, the physical care, so very critical. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the more we are awakened to everything, the more we can articulate it, the less power it will have. I mean, I just see like illnesses and even just emotional experiences, they get lodged in our bodies. And how do you get them out? Well, that's why I think I do the work I do with words, is that I really believe they have the energy to pull things out. And so,
Yeah, agreed. All right, so we ready to do this?
well, I think so. What I'll tell you is that so you're going through a multifaceted health issue, but there is an emotional quality to it. And the emotional quality is something that we're going to work with. So, whatever word comes to mind for you about what you're going through is where I think we should begin. And then we'll talk around it a little bit and decide what is the word, because we either need to know what are you lacking that the word will give you, or what are you feeling that simply by naming it, you weaken it. And so we
Yeah,
can go either way you want to go.
yeah. Well, I had told you before we hit record that I was texting with a friend, and I had said that I felt needy and weak. And when I typed weak, like I just responded to it very gutturally, like just I cried. I was just, and then I sat outside and prayed about it and meditated on it for a moment. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's a powerful word for me. But just now when you were speaking and you were saying, what is it that you're needing or craving, and whatever the word was you used, and community popped into my head. Like that was another thing that was heavy, because I see, I'm getting emotional. Yeah.
So the weak feeling, go ahead. The weak feeling is disconnection from others or from self. It's like that disconnection. I can really see how Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we moved here, when we lived in Ohio and Cincinnati, I was incredibly social. Like we had pool parties every month in our backyard during the summer, and 100 kids and families, people would show up, and oh my gosh, our good friends and neighbors, we'd borrow, one of them would bring a popcorn machine and the other ones, would provide the candy, and we'd have floats and kids. And what another one of our friends was so incredibly artistically talented, and he would make, so if we did like Jurassic Park, one was one of our movies that we did, and he made the giant, out of cardboard, wooden doors, and so people came through our pool gate, and it was like the big Jurassic Park with the flames coming up, made out of like not real fire, obviously. um and then he made, I think a T-Rex or something, I don't know, but there was um it was a magical moment to share with friends and family. And then we would have, oh my gosh, any excuse to have a pool party and play cornhole, and people blast music, and we'd be singing and dancing, and it was just, I was always going out with friends and going to lunch and going to dinner and go have a beer here. And then when we decided to move here, which really was a dream come true, uh, because we were knew we wanted to retire here, and this place has always felt like home to me. It was mid-pandemic, and so being able to connect with people, I was instantly cut off
Yeah.
from people, but I still did this show, which gave me such great connection with beautiful souls and people who were doing healing work. So that was my connection, was via Zoom. Um, I tried connecting with a women's group on an island, but then I got very sick, and I just couldn't do, events and all of that stuff. My focus shifted to self-care, and taking care of myself, because I was spiraling very quickly physically. Um, but that piece was missing.
Yeah. As you're talking, I have to tell you two things. So, the first is that when you were talking about the word weak earlier, you were talking about how everyone always told you, oh, you're so strong. I've never known anybody more strong than you. And so you shouldered a lot through your life. And when weak came up, it made you cry. And I have a feeling that's what you've been lacking, is the ability to just be weak. And that your journey to where you are now, which while it feels awful because you're not surrounded by all the friends and family and everything that you were, I just get this feeling it's part of the plan. It's part of where you are. It's where you are. And so I think weak is your word. I didn't think it was, but I think it is. And I think that, what I'm being, the feeling I have is that if I can turn that word into something beautiful, that it will help you look upon that feeling with more compassion, maybe, and allow it to be part of the healing that you're going through.
Yeah. And I will say, a lot of what I should have brought tissues in with me, a lot of what comes to me, because I'm becoming more and more connected intuitively with myself, but others, with the world, with nature, particularly. I had an incident. Well, I've had so many incidents, but the other day I was out front, and my gosh, we had so many hummingbirds last year in our front yard. And I was standing out front of our house, and I said, "Gosh, I haven't seen any hummingbirds this year." And as I said it, two hummingbirds like came and hovered right in front of my face, and I was like, "Oh my God! Well, hi guys!" Like that was weird. um, but those are the kinds of things that are just been happening. I was just eating a sandwich before coming to meet with you, and I thought, oh, I'll just eat a sandwich really quick, and my turkey on my gluten-free sandwich, and all of a sudden it was as if someone said, "Oh, Teri, look up, look up." And I looked up, and there was a heart cloud just floating by, and I was like, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." So
Great
those
sign.
those are the things that I'm experiencing more and more of. But I had a whole point of bringing that up, and I can't remember. Oh,
Well, and
so
and it. So go ahead.
I just remembered that um, one of the intuitive, I guess, messages that I've got is that I am supposed to be going through this right now. And I'm supposed to be alone as I do it, because um, like this is another step on, I don't know, my evolution or my enlightenment path or whatever my healing path is, that not depending upon, not that I depended upon other people, but I think I just lost myself in that joy. Not that that's bad. It's not coming out right. But
I
I
think I get
need
it. I
I need to
get
be in the
it because
muck.
you, when you go through trauma and you disassociate, you become really tuned in to the world around you. You learn to be safe by knowing what's going on at a subtle level, or might be really open and blatant, but a lot of the time I think kids become very sensitive and able to navigate their life to try to avoid danger. And so, that combined with living in a culture that really doesn't yet encourage people to know themselves, we get disconnected from ourselves, and we think we need other people, but a lot of the time we need us. And I really feel like that's where this journey for you is not only taking you there, but the other thing that hit me while you're talking is that when you're strong and you're shouldering, that is like that's power, but it's also um, it can keep the magic away. Because it's like you know what I mean. It's like you're a different kind of you have a different kind of awareness if you're not feeling that you have to be so strong. And and if you're going through just a really vulnerable place right now, I mean, I feel like you are just right where you are meant to be, to take everything that you've learned into some new life that has yet to evolve. So
Yes, I've been told that by a couple of
I love
healers.
your word.
Yeah, they've recently been on the show, and they've said this is like the last step of the journey, Teri, before you, like, something big is coming, and you're like, this is, you've been through so much, the sexual abuse and the physical abuse and the the neglect, the addictions, I mean, all of that, and now you never went through a physical illness part of it before, and so it's like your last it's like the last step, and then you're going to take all of this and be able to speak about it to people and say, no matter what you've been through, you can make it through,
Yeah,
and really
I
truly speak to that.
yeah. I mean, it must feel awful to be where you're at because the illness part of it is just so debilitating. But I do have a lot of faith in where you're headed, a lot.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thanks.
yeah, so you ready to make some magic here?
Yes, I am.
All right. So I'm going to change my camera view so you can watch me. Do you have a
Okay.
favorite color?
purple or any shade thereof, like a lavender.
I have my Crayola crayons here. We have Purple Mountains Majesty.
I love it.
We have Orchid.
Yeah, I like the Purple Mountains of Majesty best.
Okay. I also have a periwinkle.
Is that a darker? Oh,
No,
that's pretty.
periwinkle is kind of like evening
Yeah,
sky.
that's pretty too. I like both of those.
Okay, I can do both. All right. All right. So, weak is your word,
All right.
right? Here we go. So just relax. If you feel like talking, great. If you don't, great. There's evidence that when we do art, when we're expressing, we're getting a blast of good chemicals in our brain. So I get that. You get an equal amount just by watching me. Like it's
Yeah.
an automatic, it's a proven thing. So that's a cool thing for you.
I am going to talk a little bit as you do this and just say that. So my sister is a calligrapher, and I always was amazed because I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, meaning that, uh, yeah, my artistic ability is in writing. Although I did take a painting class once with a friend, it was for her birthday, one of those paint course classes, and I did paint a sunrise coming between like trees in a forest, and it actually ended up looking like that. And it was pretty cool to learn how to do it and allow myself that opportunity. But my
Yeah.
sister, excuse me, for anyone watching the video, she painted that angel over my shoulder, and it's so beautiful. But she'll do poems in calligraphy, and I have one. Um, and
Well, it's
again,
a beautiful art form, and I'm doing a very free form. Like I did the formal calligraphy in college. I took several classes in that, and I did a lot of that. But I just felt the need to flow with it, and so this is not exactly calligraphy. It's a loose definition of that, but
yeah, and what's interesting is I don't see it. I don't see the color as you're
no,
working.
it's a little bit light, and so I have to kind of map it in a little bit,
Yeah,
and then we'll get some depth and color.
awesome. Yeah, because I just still see the white, but
You know, I wonder if I think I can change a setting here, and I'm going to try. Um,
oh, now it's showing up a little more.
yeah, I think that might help. Well, I can see how this is not exactly visible for you, darn it. What can I do?
Oh, I see it starting. That's kind of cool though that it's weak. It's
Yeah.
weak and showing up in color. That's so cool. So it's almost, I mean, that's very poetic in and of itself, Kathy,
Well, thank you for saying that.
because I see it and it's just like it's fainting in the background, almost like what's happening with me. Like it's this underlying current of feeling weak, even though I tell myself, you know, I I'm that person who practices what I preach. And so if I pass a mirror and I see myself, I I always smile and I'm like, "Hey kid." you're doing awesome. You've got this. And I smile at myself, and I'm always giving myself little pep talks and cheering myself on. And again, trying to focus on the positive and the joy and all the things that are going right and what's working. But then there's this underlying current that has now come to light of, how could you have ever let this happen? I mean, why?
Yeah, that voice is a really tough.
I won't talk. We'll just watch.
Ooh. Now we're starting to get some.
Yeah. I'm going to edit in music, very gentle, soothing music. So I'm just going to sit and watch you.
That's a great idea. I love the color that you pick. I mean, I really love purple for this. It's a really interesting word. I'm like, as I sit here drawing, my mind is just kind of exploding with just so many ways of thinking about it.
What's
and
coming?
I think mostly
what's coming to mind?
The vulnerability part of it is just like, that's the part that I think is so, we think of vulnerability being weak, and yet it takes a ton of courage to be vulnerable. So there's just a lot of sort of contradictions, I guess.
Yeah, you and I talked a little bit about that during our phone call, about how I consider vulnerability really a strength, that we, by allowing our vulnerabilities, takes tremendous courage.
And I think that's a big part of why you have such impact on people, Teri, is that, you've learned to carry that already. A lot of people haven't begun the journey of opening up to that vulnerability, but how would you talk about the benefits of doing that?
The benefits of being vulnerable?
Yes.
I think it helps others, especially if we express it through writing or whatever way we express our vulnerability, doing a video or whatever it is. My son had recently written something, and I asked him if I could share it, and so I put it out on Facebook and shared it. And the responses, almost every single person that responded said, for something along the lines of John's vulnerability, and what a gift it was for him to be able to put his truth out there. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe vulnerability to me is truth. It's the rawest form of truth.
Yeah.
Is the best way I can describe it, because
I like that a lot.
Yeah, we are so afraid of our truths
because we're afraid of how it might label us, or
You know what I think it is? It's vulnerability is truth through emotion, like feeling the truth instead of saying the truth. It's feeling it, like letting the feeling live.
yeah. That's beautiful. You know what? As I looked at that, as I look at that W, I mean, it's so beautiful, but it almost reminds me of a person doing like, you know, like that stance of I'm so strong with their fists up in the air, and that when you're lifting weights and you're just like,
yeah.
ah.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah.
And how amazing that the W for the word weak looks strong.
I know. I feel like there are always angels sort of hovering in this work, because just, really interesting things happen like that. I mean, I agree. It's like, hello.
Yeah.
I am really, really weak. Not.
Right. I love it. I'm so drawn to that W right now. I haven't even moved on to the other letters. I'm just absorbing it.
Well, they're still forming. What'll happen when I'm done and we close, the program, is I'm going to send you the electronic version. And if you want the real, if you want the hard copy, I can mail that to you too. But it's just about, taking whatever comes of this time together through the experience of the word and watching and all that, and just seeing how does it call itself out to you, like, okay, you know what, I need to just sit and look at this. I need to meditate on it. I need to remember this particular feeling that I had, but to let it be kind of a living part of whatever your journey is.
Yeah. It's interesting that as I'm looking at this and watching you work, that for whatever reason, my mom keeps coming to mind. And I'm curious about where that's coming from and what it means. And I don't think it was ever that she ever told me I was weak. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it was her message of herself, and maybe me not wanting to go down that same path of feeling that way about myself.
Is your mom doing pretty well?
She is, but she just had COVID. She's 87, but I know. And I was a nervous wreck, but I talked to her, and in 2 or 3 days, she was back to rocking it out like she does. But she's that person that was, like me before moving here, always going, always seeing people, always going. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing, Kathy, is that all of my going. And how weird. I just looked up above my desk as I said that, and the word going is on one of my signs. And it says, but never lose sight of where you are going. And I said the word, and then I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh. So I was always going. And
maybe, just maybe, I needed to be still.
Well, I can imagine that would be true. You know, we healing is it's a big job. When you don't just take a drug to get over something, but you actually go for the healing.
Yes.
You know, I think it requires a lot more of you, a lot more of your attention and your focus. And if you're being very intentional and saying, I'm doing all this because I intend to get to the other side, then it does. It just, you got to cut out a lot of distractions. And
oh, what a great reminder. Someone had told me that the other day. Be curious about what's on the other side of whatever it is, the other side of illness, the other side of fear, the other side of whatever it is. Just be curious about it. And so I've had this thing for a long, long time, fear of open spaces. And I was taking a walk on this newly built pier, which I'm not a big fan of enclosed spaces either. And so a pier, I was like, oh, it's not an easy exit. But I said, all right. So I kept walking just a little further, a little further, a little further, a little further. And then I came to this big wide open space where this pier went out over this water. And I said, oh, I don't think I can do it. So I stepped back, and then I went back to it again. Then I came back, then I went back to it again. And then I finally said, I wonder what it would be like to be on the other side of this pier and know I did it. And so I was very curious, and I stood there in curiosity, and then I went and got to that place that I was looking at. And then I stood there and turned around and said, well, now I know what it's like to get to the other side.
Oh, wow, I love it.
Without having any issues. And so now I've been walking on that pier all the time without any issues. So.
Well, there you go. Wow. I like that.
But you just gave me a great reminder to do the same with this illness. I wonder what it's going to be like, and be curious when I get to the other side of it.
Absolutely.
That's so beautiful. It makes me feel happy. Isn't that funny? The word weak is making me happy.
Yeah. Well, that's what really I started to feel that we attach a lot of meaning to certain words, but maybe doing this word is going to just bring out more of the depth. And the other thing is, if you can just create something pretty or beautiful, it just changes the power of that word too.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, this is. I wish I could hold it. Well, you know what? I'm going to. I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to change. Well, if I go back to the other camera view, I'm going to try this. FaceTime. What I'm worried about.
Oh, that's so cool. Look how different the color looks. Oh my gosh, I love it, Kathy. That's amazing.
It's very, I do all different kinds of lettering, different styles, and this is really thin and narrow compared to my norm, which is appropriate because of the word, but yeah, there's some interesting stuff
You
in
know
there.
what else is, I see like ocean waves curling, and living here on Hilton Head Island, and how much peace I find in uh, being here. Even though, you know, I know people have said, why don't you just move back to Ohio? And I say, no, this is home. I
Oh,
just
there,
know. I know
yeah.
this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Again, I'm fascinated by, but it's like the way the waves are, it's almost like a storm, but yet there's like the E and the A. To me, I see peace in the middle of the storm. Oh,
Cha-ching!
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah.
Well, I want to mail this to you so you can, because I'll scan it and send it to you electronically, but there's just something about, the actual piece. And
Yeah.
you could even, I mean, I'm sort of wondering if there isn't some like coloring that you need to do on it. So it's co-created because I think the best medicine is co-made. It's, you know, shared. It's a circle.
Yeah. There's a part of me that wants to make a whole bunch of copies of it and then just create a whole bunch of different
I like that idea. I think that's a really good one.
it's like, yeah, like create a bunch of different weeks and then just like hang them together and make almost like a wall mural.
I know. I like that a lot.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because yeah, there are a lot of different versions of
Yeah.
how that's going to flow through you as you're on this very potent leg of your healing journey. And
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm so pulled into it. I'm mesmerized by the now the E and the A in the midst of the W and the K. Yeah. I'm going to have to meditate on this and journal on this quite a bit. I might have to write a haiku about it, Kathy.
I think that's a really great idea. This feels like it's almost talking, like it's got a voice. And
Yeah.
I don't know, this is really different than any word I've done. I will tell you that. It's just not typical. And mainly the style of lettering, but um,
And so you just, to explain, so you just go with whatever you're feeling moved to create?
I do because I don't believe that you can create healing energy if you plan it out. And, a lot of the work I do, and just in my own artwork, I'm a doodler, but I'll do art that I'm going to publish, but I have no idea how it will turn out, and I just dive into it. And that's just always been my way. Like, I think there's some really, there are good lessons in working that way, trusting. Like, everything I've ever done, I come to a point where I hate it and I think I can't save it, and then I do visually. I somehow make it work. And so even in pen and ink, which you can't erase and you can't get rid of, like it just somehow always works out. And so anyway, but this work that I do, it's just so liberating. I think it just frees the energy between people when I come in my vulnerability too. Like, what if what I do doesn't please you? What if doesn't please me? And I just have to, I don't know, just let it
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Trust the process and trust the
Right.
energy because there's certainly an exchange. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a like a pool in my I think my soul is here. Like that's where I resonate a lot when I have very powerful moments and I just it's almost like a pool, a pulling towards you, towards this work you've done, this gift. It's just I can feel it.
Well, I'm really beginning to figure out through the programs that I'm doing online. I didn't know if it would work energy wise. Nothing gets lost. And I'm blown away by that we
Yes.
don't have to be in the same room. And it doesn't seem to have an impact, a negative one anyway,
Oh, I'm
but
learning that more and more
it's
as well. The whole quantum field, that we don't have to be in the same. Even practitioners who use touch energy, you can do it through
exactly, they
through
can be
quantum.
remote. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I love
yeah.
it. Well, this was certainly very powerful, as you could tell by my tears and snot.
Well, I'm so grateful that you gave me a chance to just come and show you what it's about and give it time to just come into your life. And I don't know, maybe by the time, I don't know when you're thinking about putting this out there, but my thought was, what if you gave it a little bit of time and then by the time you're ready to put it out there, say, I'm going to have something to say about this at the end of the program, but you just take a look at it for now and but whatever that is,
Yeah.
whatever, there will be something, it may not be anything that I could predict or you could predict,
Oh,
but I
that's
feel
such a
like there's
great,
something
yeah, that's a
right.
great
It's
idea.
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do come back and add to it and be like, all right, folks, here's an update from the
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I, yeah, I think so. I'm telling you, Terry, I'm not just saying this. This is like no word I've ever done for anyone else. And I mean, I've done a lot of them. So don't, it's just, there's some different quality about it that I can't even quite put my finger on, but
As I looked at it, I was like, it almost has like an alien type of, like a different sort of being. Like,
which we know we are.
yes, these tall, it's the tall with like a bigger, like that W. Oh, my ears are ringing really loud as I'm saying this. Um, like these tall beings with a bigger head. Like, not that they're more intelligent. I'm not trying to say that, but my mom always used to tell me, "You have such a huge forehead, Terry. It's because you're so smart."
I
And
have
so
a
now,
five head according to my family. Well, you know what? Now that you're saying that, it reminds me of a crown of some kind that I've seen like a goddess wear.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. W's are a funny letter. Um, they almost always trip me up a little bit.
Well, I think it's the most beautiful W I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not just saying
Okay,
that.
we'll go with that.
Because for real, like I'm mesmerized by it. It's the E and the A, very fascinatingly to
I
me.
hate, as I look at that, the E and the A hit me like yin and yang, kind of, because
Yeah.
they're like mirror flapped images of
Oh
each other.
yeah. Yeah. But to me, they're almost like sitting there very quietly, like in the midst of the storm, just patiently waiting for the storm to pass. And they're almost just like prayerfully content, I guess, to just sit it
Yeah,
out and wait. While the W and the K are a little chaotic because their waves and things are going everywhere. Um, and they're showing their strength. Because the K, look at the bottom of the K, it's similar to the W, and I keep seeing this,
right. Yep.
Um, oh, it's so fascinating, Kathy. I'm going to study this for hours on end when I'm fascinated.
Well, it's definitely got a lot of really powerful energy in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um,
Well, so can people do this with you? Can they connect with you?
and I'm in the middle of making some changes on my website, and I'm trying to do little things that just get me more available to people. And this is one thing I want to do is create a place where they can go and learn a little bit more about it. And I think for now, I mean, honestly, Teri, I feel like I'm so in tune with where you are right now, and that you picked the right word, and that the word is so multidimensional that it's just going to enlighten a corner of your journey for you. And I'm just excited. I got to be part of this, truly.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel so blessed. Well, one, just to be connected with you and, a friendship, but two, just what a gift. I caught my breath, Kathy. It's been one of those days. I've had an emotional day with lots of tears and, much needed release, right? That natural human emotion. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for
Well,
helping me catch my breath.
I have so much faith in your approach and your courage. You know,
No.
you're a great role model. You are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, and again, I feel blessed to connect with you, and I want everybody listening to do this because it was powerful and beautiful, and I so want to know what people's words are. Again, you could probably do a whole book, Kathy. Oh my gosh.
I have thought
Of
about it. You know, I wrote a story. Oh, I probably have 35 or 40 of the stories that I wrote after a patient encounter that was just like, oh my God. And I've got them collected, and I've had people tell me that, and I just haven't figured out how I want to do it,
yeah,
who my audience would be. And
right,
I think I need to be visible in this way a little bit more and get more people kind of into the way that I am and think and work. And then I think my book would mean more. But I think just putting it out there right now might be like the wrong time.
right.
But
Yeah, but
thank
you're right. If you have an audience in place that would be craving them, because I know I would buy a copy because I would not just be fascinated, obviously, by your beautiful work and artistry, but maybe the little story that goes with it
The
of,
stories are profound. In fact,
yes.
I'm tempted to write one about yours.
Oh,
I am.
thanks.
I mean,
Well, you can.
there's so many, almost like twists and turns that kind of came up, and what you saw in the W, and then I don't know the rest of the story yet, but I will. I'll get
Yes.
it out, before this thing goes live, and there may be a detail that we go, oh my God, I have to write this.
Right, right. Well, I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good. And I am going to record your meditation over the weekend, so
Oh, thank you.
tell it, and you can listen to it anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Thanks. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say to folks before we parted ways?
No, you're going to put my website in your show notes.
Yeah. So, yeah, how do people get in contact with you who are listening in on audio?
Just go to Kathy Curtis Inc. ink.com, and the word program. I don't know where that will be yet, but they can find it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you again for everything.
Welcome. Thank you too. Safe travels. Let the healing just go.
Woohoo! All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye bye.
Hey everybody, Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for, again, healing and hope Thanks for again being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye bye.